Welcome everybody to another show here at the SQL Konferenz in Germany, 2017. We are here in our Data Exposed studio, and I have some real good friends of mine on a topic that I love, and it's very important for me because I do a lot of stuff with Power BI, and I just thought I get some guys who do really cool stuff with Power BI, and we discuss something which is really one of my heart blood things. Is Power BI enterprise ready? What do we have to do to get it ready? What are our experience in that one? And so I want to introduce that from this side here. So he already wears a real cool Power BI shirt. So he is Mr. Power BI. No, he is guy in the cube, I have to say. Adam, introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Adam Saxon. I am also known as Guy in a Cube. I've got my own YouTube channel, and I work on Power BI documentation. I used to be in support. I've been with Power BI since the beginning, so I've just learned a lot of stuff and helped people out. So,
Wolfgang.
Yeah, my name is Wolfgang Strasser. I work with Power BI since it, let's say, really got Power BI. All those excellent ints and Office 365 trials, let's call it that way. But now we are doing projects with Power BI, and I use it even for private data analysis, and it's really cool.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm Marcel Franke from PM1, and we are using Power BI in our own product called Wondermating, and we integrated Power BI as a rendering engine. And additionally, we're using Power BI from an analytical perspective, more on the explorative view. So how can I explore my data, get more out of my data, understand correlations and things like this. And that's where we see Power BI very great. And yeah, let's get it started.
That's a good starting point. So my first question to you guys. My impression is that Power BI now gets a lot of buzz. So there's a lot of marketing going on. Your marketing machine is working very, very good. And a lot of customers jump into that Power BI, and I think this kind of 5 seconds or 5 minutes to wow, was it 5? 5 minutes. 5 minutes to wow thing works really great because a lot of customers are just saying, hey, this is really cool, and oh, Power BI desktop is for free. Hey, yeah, I can install it, or my IT can install it on our PCs, so everybody is happy. Until the first things going on, hey, I want to do data refresh, oh, I want to supply that, I want to connect to my SAP system, etc., etc. So there is a lot of, let's say, wave going into the product, a lot of people using it, let's say on a level which is a low level, and then when they start up getting a little bit more complicated stuff, yeah. How is your impression? Is this the same that you say, hey, yeah, our customers, we have the same thing, so they really like Power BI, they want to work with Power BI? Is this something like you can experience, Frank?
Yeah, so I think what Microsoft did very well from the pricing point of view, coming a little bit late to the game of Click and Tableau, I think made it very interesting to get started with Power BI, and I think that is a great thing, removing all the barriers. Removing also some barriers from a platform, so it doesn't need to be Microsoft at all. Although the native OS support is not yet there from a desktop perspective, but I think as a starting point, it's very great. You can just download it and get it started. A lot of samples, a lot of extra additional visualizations, custom visuals that you can use. So I think this is very great, and people can quickly get started on their own data.
That's also my impression, that the 5 minutes to get the wow effect for all our customers is there. But if you're really getting into the projects and you're doing, you want to combine 2 different data sources, for example, in direct query mode, not now, at the moment. And also from the thing to distribute that stuff in the enterprise, I think that's one of the main areas where we face the problems when getting into the DevOps side of Power BI, because it's nice to have your first report in 10 minutes or a day, but then you want to distribute it. Then you need the Power BI license. Then you need to distribute the report. Then you need to share it. that's one of the things that could improve maybe in the future. But on the other side, let's compare Power BI with reporting services. They are 10, 12, 15 years old, and Power BI is that young. And with that pace of improvement in the Power BI team, I think it's not that far away that we get all those things we need for the enterprise thing.
So do you see it in the same way that, yeah, there is this kind of big wow thing and that you have to do a lot of work to get it in the way that what Wolfgang said, that we get more enterprise functionality? Is this already on the roadmap? Is this something that that the people who are watching can expect, that you do a lot of investment into that direction?
Yeah, I would say that we do have features available today for enterprises. So there's auditing that's been in place that's now available globally. So I think there was applause from all the Europe folks for that. And you know, there are ways for distribution and collaboration and whatnot. We absolutely have work to do in that space too, in a lot of other spaces, and we're continuing to crank out those features. So there is focus on the enterprise stuff.
Okay.
So you will see improvements in that area. You'll see more events from an auditing perspective. You'll see other capabilities within the product that I think will address some of the concerns that are out there. I can't give you timing on any of that or details on what's there, but they are working on those features.
So what we can tell is, first thing, of course, Microsoft has already, they know this kind of situation. They know that there is work to do, of course. And as you say, all right, guys, we are looking at a product which is 1.5 years old. Come on, for that kind of, let's say, young baby software, it is already excellent. Yeah. So from that perspective, let's start a little bit with these things like, for example, what we need in the enterprise. And I just mentioned that we have this kind of thing where saying, hey, we have now this nice Power BI report, and let's say it's on good old school analysis services, let's say multidimensional, yeah, something like this, where we have an enterprise data source. So now we want to get that ready. So how are your experience? Is this easy? Is this something you can achieve like that? What are your experience with that?
So I think from a connectivity perspective, I think Microsoft has a lot of options how we can connect Power BI to different data sources, right? And also on analysis services, I think we have a multidimensional connector right now. So technically it's possible. What I see difficult is, like, in order to get this wow effect, you need people who have a feeling on how can I visualize data and what is the best way how to visualize data. And there were a lot of people like Edward Taft and Stephen Few who made thoughts about how can I visualize data. But
don't forget Rolf Fichert.
And Rolf Fichert here in Germany. And but I think Power BI and Rolf Fichert, I don't know if they really match. Okay, but I think we Europeans, we are a little bit very row and column based, and the US is a little bit more let's say visual driven. But I think it's there. You see so many examples what you can achieve, but a lot of people don't have the capability to really build this or see the data and then see how you could visualize this. And I think to having some kind of visual templates or having some kind of, so that people in the company that have this design skills, that they can bring templates, on others they can bring technology, and the others they can bring on then the data and do the rest. And I think if you can combine the skills working on a platform like Power BI, that would be awesome, because I think from a connectivity perspective, I'm really happy, but supporting design aspects is something that where life could be a little bit easier.
So can you give a detail? Like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, let's say like, so we did this in our product and really design Power BI reports where user at the end look and this and that, oh, this looks awesome. And then they said, okay, how can I build this, you know? And so, okay, can you create a template out of this, right? So, and in order to have the same kind of functionalities from a design perspective and just reuse what other did, right? And just with your data, you know? And yeah, this would be a great support if you can have some visual templates, for example, right?
Okay.
So have you looked at the template feature within inside of Power BI Desktop? So we've got the ability, you can design the report inside a Power BI desktop and save it as a template that you can then distribute to folks. So I don't know if that meets the needs of what you're looking for, if you're looking for something more specific on like predefined visuals, so maybe something similar to like what we do with mobile reports where we've got a sampled data set there. That would be maybe interesting. That's one of the great features of mobile reports is that I've already got data. I can see what I need to use for that. That's what you're looking for?
Or if you just see a report and said, also online, just I see a nice report and just want to reuse it. So make a template out of this, right? And then I care about the data, right? But I think it's important and not underestimated. Like if you want to have good working data, then the people who play with the data and work with the data, they need to trust, but also they need to like to work with the data, right? And I think visuality is a very big component if you whether like to work with it or not. And I think you see all these great examples, but you also see that people are sitting in front of a white shape, you know, and then thinking about, okay, what I'm doing now, you know?
Okay. So before you start, I have to go back a little bit because I want to try to get that point with the gateways. Because for me, from an enterprise perspective, of course, you're absolutely right, having the possibilities of the different visuals and so on. But from an enterprise perspective, it is like this that I think a lot of the people who are watching us they know that there is a thing called OnPremise Gateway. They know that maybe there is a personal gateway. But I know a lot of people who didn't touch it, or they had discussions with their IT department and so on. And my question to you guys, from your experience, is this something that we can tell the people, hey, this is not that difficult, and this is really something where we can already say, hey, this is enterprise ready with this and this and this functionality, with this bandwidth. What are your experience in there?
I have a good example. We had a meeting scheduled about that topic, on-premises data gateway, firewall, and all that stuff. And it was scheduled, I think, for an hour or two, and we left there after 20 minutes because all the details were discussed. And they were, the admin said, okay, we install it. We see that it's safe, and especially it's that easy to install. I showed them a demo in a virtual machine, how it works, how it really works, that it's not the incoming connection, it's just the outgoing one. And all those questions were not there after 5 minutes. So that was the 5 minutes of wow for the admins.
Okay.
And it's easy to install, it's easy to update, and
what
just
is about
works.
performance? Any experience? Because I think people will say, hey, if this is data from our on-prem system, it goes to the cloud, and that has some kind of latency. That could be difficult. How are your experience?
Sure, it has some latency. When I'm starting Power BI at my browser in Austria, going to a data center somewhere in Ireland, and then going back to the server in Austria. But the performance is okay. Let's call it that way. And even with huge cubes, it works. Yeah. And it's not that thing. Yeah, you start your report and you get your coffee because it takes some time. It doesn't take that much time.
How are your experience on that?
Yeah, I think regarding performance, as Alex say from the CAT team always say, you need to understand your SLA, right? So, and the question is like, if you have a key functionality or the business requires data in real time, then it's probably not the right solution to it, right? But I wouldn't blame the product always to it. And so really think about what is the product, what are the capabilities of the product, what are your SLAs, and then adjust your architecture to your SLA. And yes, and I think this will improve, but as you said, so like if your SLA or if your requirements meet these architecture, then it's a great way to go, and from a security perspective, it's enterprise ready. Yeah. Okay. What my feeling is in this security discussion is often that the IT departments they still have their knowledge in hosting and in having everything in their own IT, and then Power BI is their first door opener from the business entering the cloud, right? And then the problem comes that IT is not cloud ready, so they don't know how to secure it, right? But it's mainly the problem of the IT, like, oh, now everybody can access the data. I don't have any control anymore, so what do I do? How do I implement two-factor and all these things, right? And then they said, no, we don't use this because we are not able to manage it, right? And that I see mostly that IT is a little bit behind on the skills how to manage it in the cloud. But if this hurdle is gone, then it's perfect. Yeah.
So something else I'd mentioned, we talked about latency going across the internet. One of the options that's available for customers also, if that's a key concern from an enterprise perspective, ExpressRoute's also an option that they may want to look at, because that gets you a dedicated pipe with an actual SLA for latency. So the gateways will fully work with that. We have articles that discuss how to actually configure Power BI for ExpressRoute from a service perspective and from the gateways. So that's definitely something, if your organization can do something like that, that's a way to guarantee less latency.
I think I can underline that from my experience as well, that in the projects, the gateway was not a performance issue at all. There are maybe some kind of stuff that you have to do with a proxy and the security things, but that's the thing which is the only thing. Everything else is really a question of minutes and not a question of days or something like that to discuss. What I want to ask you, if we have connectivity, so there are a lot of people maybe think, okay, we have this kind of direct query thing, and we have the model that we can upload the model into the cloud, and the model retrieves the data and stores it into the cloud. Are there, from your perspective, if a customer comes to Microsoft and says, oh, I have this huge data warehouse thing, and I want to do some Power BI on that, what is the way, how do you distinguish between, hey, is this something which is more like a direct query architecture thing, or yeah, you can use models and you schedule your data refresh? What is there's not a solution for everything, for sure, but how is the way how you distinguish what is the best solution to that?
So the size of your model is going to be one of the biggest key factors there. So if it's over a gig, we can support imported data up to 1 gig. If you have a very large data warehouse, direct query is probably where you want to start looking at. So really it's going to be predicated on that first and foremost. Outside of that, you may have options too, where yes, I've got this huge data warehouse, but I've got ways to maybe simplify that a little bit, that it would work from a Power BI desktop file, specifically import it into that and then put it up, so it's within that gig limit. Maybe it's only a section of the data. So I would have discussions from an architecture perspective about, like, what do you really need? And then also discussions around how fresh do you want that data to be? Because with direct query, we're querying the live set. So it's always going to be as fresh as your data source is. Whereas with imported, you're dealing with scheduled refresh. And so if you don't care, like, look, it can be updated once a day, I don't matter about that, then that may be an option for you. So, so refresh, timeliness, and then size of your data and how you want to use it.
So I normally prefer to start simple, and if you have a data warehouse and you have Power BI, then you can start with direct query and see how long it works and when it breaks. And for my opinion, like, compression is very good, so you can put really a lot of data into a gig, right? And on the other side, you can also introduce an analysis services layer in between, right? So then you have your data warehouse, and then you use analysis services as a service in Azure, and then you can hook Power BI on top of it, and so then you can combine and have a lot of flexibility also from the architectural point of view.
What you also get with that approach is somehow the data governance thing in it, because yeah, I have to talk about it.
Yeah, you're right.
It is on Power BI. Yeah, it's the Power BI thing. You just connect to your data, you build your data set, you build your measures, and you work with it, and you upload it, and maybe a colleague gets a copy of your Power BI desktop file, and he continues to improve the data model, and maybe one starts to implement row-level security, publishes it to powerbi.com. The colleague overwrites that data set, and yeah. That's the thing where I think the